How can anything endure when the ground heats to 122 degrees and the sky holds no moisture? Nothing present is designed to sustain a human body. This is the biggest desert on the planet. The Sahara. Sand stretches to each horizon, 1,000 miles in every direction. Yet life continues to persist. Under darkness, a train glides across the sand, a mile of cold steel beneath the stars. A salt flat lies so pale and even that filmmakers once used it for an alien world. Inside a canyon that no river reaches, 10 crocodiles preserve a lineage 5,000 years old. On a rock wall, a giraffe looms in painted stone, left by hands that disappeared when the waterways did. In the desolate core, a lone tree stood by itself for 300 years. So, how do 10 million people call the harshest land on Earth their home? The desert removes what it cannot preserve, and it retains what it removes. The forbidden zone is accessible. What lasts here has earned its place. A 440-mile iron ore railway cuts across the Mauritanian Sahara. Its train extends 1.5 miles in length, the longest regularly operating train worldwide. From the inland Zourid mines, the route goes west across open desert toward the Atlantic at Nouadhibou. Most of the way offers nothing. No settlement, no vegetation, no water, only gravel and shifting sand. The Sahara covers 3.5 million square miles, comparable to the United States or China. During daylight, the sun heats the rails and the air reaches 122 degrees Fahrenheit. SNIM built the line in the 1960s after independence. There was no road then. There is none now. Communities along those 440 miles depend on this train as their sole external link. Passengers ride at no cost, but not in passenger cars. They climb onto the ore in open wagons without any cover. By trip's end, everything is covered in rust-red dust, hair, clothing, even the lungs. At night, the desert cools quickly, and riders wrap themselves in wool against the cold, unconcerned with weight or schedules. The iron lies cold beneath them. The noise is a deep, steady clanking that lasts for hours. 17,000 tons of ore. That figure represents economic necessity. For those riding on top, it also means survival. When the desert eliminates every other choice, humanity builds one of its own. But the railway is not the strangest thing this desert has produced. A flat, barren stretch of gravel and stone near the Asamaka border post in Niger. No trees, no shade, only wind. Cracked ground extends to the horizon, and the heat warps that horizon until it shimmers. Not a single landmark stands within 50 miles in any direction. Out here, temperatures can exceed 120 degrees. This ranks among the deadliest routes on Earth, one that has witnessed human movement for centuries. In June 2026, a truck carrying about 100 Nigerians returning from Aden, Mali, broke down 50 miles west of Asamaka. They remained stranded for days as their water supply ran out. 49 of them perished from thirst. Only 2 survived, walking over 30 miles to find water and then continuing to Asamaka to alert others. The rest were buried where they fell. The desert shows no mercy. It makes no distinction between those who planned the crossing and those simply caught along the way. Preparation, expertise, money, none suffices once the desert has been misjudged. The Sahara does not care what you know. Tunisia's biggest salt flat produces mirages so realistic that a film crew once used it for an extraterrestrial planet. Chott el Djerid spans about 7,500 square miles across southern Tunisia. It was once an inland sea. The Romans called it Lake Triton. When the water evaporated, it left a salt crust 1 to 2 feet thick. People have harvested that salt here since Phoenician times. So when George Lucas sought a location that resembled nowhere on Earth, he brought his team here to film Tatooine in Star Wars. The physics of the mirage are precise. The sun heats the white surface past 104 degrees Fahrenheit. This effect has a name, Fata Morgana. Water that does not exist looks entirely real. Travelers unaware that the flat is salt have walked toward it for hours. Some never stopped. Guides charge triple the usual rate to lead a midday crossing. The disorientation here is lethal. At noon, the salt and sky share the same brightness. The horizon simply vanishes. Without a fixed reference point, a person loses all sense of direction within 40 minutes. The Sahara teaches one lesson above all others. Appearance and truth diverge here. Ground that seems solid may be a hollow shell of salt above brine. Water that appears close may lie 20 miles away, fashioned entirely from light. Survival demands strict discipline. Doubt everything the flat shows you. The nomadic Tuareg have traversed the Sahara for over 2,000 years without maps or fixed borders. Rome drove them from the Libyan coast in the early centuries of the Common Era. They withdrew into the deep interior and reconstructed everything: law, property, identity, even what a face may reveal. The Tagelmust, the veil worn by Tuareg men, measures 26 feet when unwound. A man covers his face at puberty and never removes it before strangers for the rest of his life. His wife is among the few who ever see his face. For a Tuareg man, baring his face to a stranger is akin to standing naked. The cloth covers everything, retaining moisture against the face while the desert strips away everything outside. Function and identity became one. In Tuareg society, property belongs to women. The tent is hers. The herds are hers. Children follow her lineage. In a divorce, the man departs with one camel. The Tifinagh script, older than Arabic and older than Islam in this region, is preserved and taught by women. The writing itself passes down through the maternal line. The salt caravans from Air to Bilma cross 620 miles of open desert. Agadez is the gateway to the Tuaregs' Tenere. Navigation falls to the Madugu, the caravan leader, who reads dune shapes, wind patterns, and the stars. There are no landmarks for hundreds of miles. One man's memory carries the entire route. 2,000 years of this built nearly 2 million people across 5 nations, with no fixed territory and no need for one. If the Tuareg built a civilization in the Sahara, what did the desert build? Out of the Moroccan desert near Merzouga, dunes rise 500 feet. This is Erg Chebi, the most photographed sand sea on Earth, built entirely by wind. The process is straightforward. A northeast wind funnels through a mountain gap. Sand drops. Over millennia, it accumulates into a mega dune system covering about 22 square miles, a sand city 50 stories tall. The dune crest stays 15 to 20 degrees cooler than its base. Its color shifts through the day: rust orange at dawn, pale gold at noon, deep shadow on the windward side by afternoon. The sand is sugar fine. Each step on it produces a soft squeak. By 9 o'clock in the morning, the wind has erased every footprint from the previous night. The dune resets. It keeps no record of who stood there. Camel caravans used Erg Chebi as a navigational marker. The system aligns north-south, and from 30 to 40 miles out, the orange appears before any single dune comes into view. 19th century trade between Algeria and Morocco listed it as a landmark. Merchants noted the color first, not the height. They recognized it before they could see its shape. On the knife-edge crest, a lone figure casts a shadow 100 feet down the slope. That shadow is the only element in view that provides a sense of scale. Without it, the dune could be a mile high or a low hill. Wind shaped all of it, grain by grain. And to cross terrain like this, the desert offers one ally. What does the dromedary carry in its hump? 79 pounds of fat, not water. The advantage is metabolic, and it surpasses simple water storage each time. Fat burned for energy releases metabolic water as a byproduct. The hump is a portable fuel tank that also generates its own hydration internally. When water is available, a camel drinks 30 gallons in 10 minutes, then goes 7 days without. Its body temperature fluctuates between 93 and 105 degrees. It delays sweating until the heat gap becomes dangerous, and that alone extends its range by miles. An animal that sweated like a horse would collapse in hours, while a camel crosses in a week. In a sandstorm, the camel's nostrils seal shut. Its eyelashes close to slits. Its foot pad spreads wide on soft sand, then tightens on hard ground. Its build is precise. The Tuaregs say plainly, if you are lost, trust the camel. Not the map, not your memory, not the stars. The camel. Those wide padded feet make almost no sound on the sand. At first light, its shadow stretches long across the dune. The animal's scent in the heat, warm wool, salt, exertion. Without the domesticated dromedary, brought into the Sahara around 2,000 years ago, there is no Timbuktu, no Chinguetti, no trans-Saharan trade, no Tuareg salt caravan. The entire architecture of human life in the deep Sahara rests on an animal whose hump is not what people assume. In Islamic tradition, camel milk is medicine. The camel appears 18 times in the Quran. A healthy dromedary yields 2 to 3 gallons of milk daily, even through drought. For people moving between water sources days apart, that milk widens the margin between life and death. The camel is evolution's answer. The fennec is a smaller one. The fennec fox weighs 2 to 3 pounds. It is the smallest wild dog on earth. Its ears reach 6 inches long. On a body that size, those ears dominate the entire animal. Blood vessels run just beneath the surface of the ear tissue. Radiating heat through that surface keeps the fennec cool without panting. The ears are an air conditioning system. The hearing they provide is secondary to that. The fennec is nocturnal, emerging after dark once surface temperatures have dropped. Through the day, the fox burrows into chambers 50 degrees cooler than the surface above. Its diet consists of insects, small eggs, and desert lizards, no water required. The animal has solved the desert's water problem by eliminating the need for water entirely. Algeria chose the fennec as its national animal. The national soccer team is called Les Fennecs. In 2 to 3 pounds of animal, the Sahara produced 3 precise solutions. Ears that function as radiators, a nocturnal schedule that avoids peak heat, and a diet that removes any dependence on water. The anatomy was redesigned from the outside in. The Sahara tests the living and archives the dead. A giraffe painted on cliff stone 30 feet above the desert floor, unreachable from below. Tassili Najar is the plateau in southeastern Algeria where 15,000 rock paintings show the Sahara as it was 10 millennia ago. The plateau covers 27,800 square miles, about the size of South Carolina, at an altitude of 6,600 feet. Henri Lode, the French explorer who catalogued the site in 1956, spent 18 months at Tassili. His team of artists traced every painting they could access. Some required scaffolding. Others had waited in dry air across the same span, holding detail untouched by moisture. Later surveys catalogued the full set across the plateau. UNESCO listed the site in 1982. The painted walls rise beyond reach of anyone on the ground below. Hippos, cattle herds, people fishing in water that no longer exists. The African humid period ran from 10,000 to 3000 BCE. The Sahara was a savanna. Rain fell. Rivers flowed to the sea. People painted what they saw on the rock walls with pigments that have endured for millennia in dry air. Then the climate dried. The animals moved south. The tribes followed. The water vanished. The paintings remained. Giraffes last walked within 1,000 miles of this plateau 5 millennia ago. The cattle painted here represent herding on land that is now dead. Some human figures strike shamanic poses, arms raised, limbs bent, in ways that match ritual postures across many ancient cultures. The ochre used for them stays intact where only dry air ever reached it. The Tuareg guides who work the plateau refused to guarantee passage through certain corridors after dark. They say jinn live in those passages. The sacred geography remains active, specific, and observed. The Sahara confesses what it once was. Its cruelty is geologically recent, 3 millennia of drying still underway. Even a desert can shift so far that it becomes its own opposite. The images on the cliff face are its confession. At the edge of the Mauritanian Sahara, an old city of knowledge is slowly sinking into the sand, Chinguetti. By West African tradition, this is the 7th holiest city in Islam. The stone town here today was built around 1264. For centuries, pilgrims from across West Africa gathered here to prepare for the journey to Mecca. Narrow streets and courtyard houses cluster around a mosque with a square minaret. 5 ostrich eggs rest at its top. The whole structure is split stone, laid dry without any mortar. Behind the earthen walls, thousands of handwritten manuscripts rest on parchment in worn leather bindings. The dry wood creaks as a book opens to a page charting the moon's course, marked with black dots and red crescents. The desert swallowed this place once already. 2 miles to the northeast, an older Chinguetti, founded around the year 777, now lies completely under the dunes. Now it returns for the second town. The herb warrain creeps up to the windows and pours into the houses. The keepers brush sand off the pages every single day. A few families carry their books north to Nouakchott by camel, the same way the books first arrived. The minaret rises from a dune that has already climbed halfway up it. The date palm groves at the village edge are the last green line between the houses and the desert. They are losing ground. The population has dropped below 5,000. UNESCO listed it as endangered. In the old quarter, El Kassour, the silence breaks only for the sound of sand grinding against stone. The Sahara gives no ground back. Manuscripts, minarets, and 700 years of knowledge all go under the same dunes. Timbuktu understood that knowledge itself was the only lasting advantage. For centuries, Europe went half mad over rumors of a city of gold so rich that gold roofed the houses. The name was Timbuktu, shorthand for somewhere so remote it was almost imaginary. The truth was humbler. The wealth came not from gold mines, but from salt. Flat-roofed mud brick houses lined narrow sand streets where the Niger River trade met the Saharan caravan route. At its peak, Timbuktu drew about 50,000 people. Salt came from the north, gold from the south, weighed evenly, 1 slab of salt for 1 of gold. In the desert, salt was life, and Timbuktu held its road. Sankore University enrolled 25,000 students, older than most in Europe. The Great Mud Mosque of Djinguereber rose in 1327 under Emperor Mansa Musa. It has stood nearly 700 years, built of brick, straw, and wood. Wooden torans jut from its walls, both frame and permanent scaffold. Every year, the community climbs up to plaster on fresh mud, patching what the summer sun cracked. In private libraries, 700,000 manuscripts came to rest: astronomy, poetry, law, medicine. The sea killed Timbuktu before the sand ever did. When European ships rounded the west coast of Africa, goods stopped crossing the sand and the caravans thinned. In 1591, Moroccan soldiers crossed the desert with guns, sacked the schools, and scattered the scholars. Only after trade and learning were gone did the sand move into what remained. But the books survived. In 2012, an armed group seized the city and began burning manuscripts. Abdul Qadir Haidara, a librarian, spent his own savings moving 377,000 of them out by boat, hidden in trunks. Today, the streets are sand. The dust-colored houses blur into the streets into the sky. A man passes with a donkey, two women carry water, and the lane falls empty under the noon sun. Each morning, people sweep sand off their doorsteps to hold the desert back one more day. From the air, the city is barely separate from the dunes around it. Knowledge gathered where the sand meets the river proved the most lasting resource the desert ever produced. Beyond the trading towns, beyond the caravans, the Sahara hides things stranger than history. 600 miles of coastline. The Atlantic coastal desert runs along the shore of Mauritania and Western Sahara, where the cold Canary Current pushes up from the south. Rain falls here less than once a year. This is not a desert the way most people picture it. Cold ocean water meeting warm desert air produces fog, not occasionally, but steadily, 5 to 10 times the yearly rainfall. Soon, the ecosystem here evolved around fog. Rain stopped mattering. At dawn, fog beetles perch on the low dunes, heads into the wind, and gather moisture beating on their backs. The droplets roll down into their mouths. A single net of traditional cloth stretched on poles can yield 5 to 13 gallons of water daily. The fog rolls off a desert that gets almost none. Portuguese navigators charted this coast in the 1500s. They noted the fog banks with some confusion. A dense marine layer over desert sand matched nothing in European geography. The communities living here had solved that puzzle long before the Portuguese arrived. Fishermen along this coast faced two hostile worlds at once. The Sahara behind them. The Atlantic in front. Life is split between what the land refuses to give and what the ocean gives in a form that takes knowledge to collect. Flamingo colonies gather in coastal wetlands where fog-fed pools collect. Life arranged itself around water in a shape that has nothing to do with rain. The fog-adapted ecosystem reaches inland for miles. Desert plants here grow toward the fog, not toward the sun. Their lean records which way the moisture comes from. Knowledge of the fog, gathered over generations, kept these communities alive where rainfall never could. The Rechat structure. 100 million years out in the open desert, and nothing has erased it. It spreads 30 miles across the desert floor of Mauritania, a set of concentric rock rings visible from orbit. NASA calibrated satellite systems against it. From orbit, it reads as a meteor impact crater. The concentric rings perfectly formed. But they are erosion rings, not impact. A volcanic dome pushed up through the surface, then wore away layer by layer over geologic time. Each layer eroded at its own rate, leaving concentric rings of different hardness. The geometry fooled satellite instruments for decades before ground surveys confirmed the erosion explanation. The Sahara's dryness preserved it. In absolute aridity, even a formation this old holds its shape. Nothing here decays fast enough to erase it. How can one stretch of ground be white as snow and black as coal? Both halves deadly at midday. Inside the Farafra Depression, Wind spent 50 million years carving the floor of a vanished sea, Egypt's White Desert. The Tethys Sea covered this region from roughly 100 million to 50 million years ago. Chalk, a form of calcium carbonate, settled on the seabed over geologic time into massive beds. Tectonic movement lifted that floor above sea level, and the wind went to work the moment it was exposed. Soft chalk wears away faster than harder layers. Over that span, chalk took the shapes of mushrooms, chickens, and standing columns. Each one records an erosion rate, a prevailing wind, a relative hardness. The formations reach 50 feet tall. They appear carved on purpose. The patience of random physics produced work finer than any human sculptor could sustain. By midday, that beauty turns hostile. Ground temperature by day hits the usual desert ceiling. At a height of 6 feet, it drops 40 degrees. Bedouin guides camp among the chalk, using the formations as a windbreak. Desert foxes shelter at their bases for the same advantage. At night, the chalk catches the moonlight. In the dark, Bedouin navigators read the silhouettes from memory, steering by shape rather than direction. The neighbor's Black Desert tells a different story. Dark basalt from ancient volcanic activity covers the valley floor north of the chalk. Ground temperatures here climb 20 to 30 degrees hotter than the white surface. The contrast shows from above. Pale chalk columns at the edge of dark volcanic rubble. Two geological eras meeting as a line the desert drew. If the desert is a sculptor, its strangest work is in the south. Tibesti rises to 11,204 feet. Higher than any summit east of the Mississippi. At that height, the Sahara turns bearable. Emi Kusi, the highest peak of the Tibesti Massif in northern Chad, is the tallest point in the whole Sahara. The massif cradles 9 volcanic calderas, some still active, geological fire inside a land ruled by heat. Trou au Natron is a volcanic sinkhole roughly 3,000 feet deep, its floor coated in white salt. Temperatures up here stayed 10 to 15 degrees cooler than the floor below. That gap is the gap between life and death where the margin is absolute. The Tubu, whose name means, people of the rocks, have lived in Tibesti and the Enedi Plateau for generations. The Tubu kept their oral tradition, their camel and goat herding, and their independence through generations of pressure. French colonial forces tried. The terrain beat them. No battle required. That independence reached south into a second plateau. Enedi covers 23,000 square miles of sandstone highlands in eastern Chad. About the size of West Virginia, it was UNESCO listed in 2016. Its arches, canyons, and year-round waterholes make it one of the richest pockets of life in the Sahara. Barbary sheep climb the cliffs with Dorcas gazelles, red-necked ostriches, and nearly 200 migrating birds at the water. Rock paintings cover the canyon walls. Cattle and human figures held on stone dry enough to keep pigment that long. The Libya-Chad border dispute of the 1970s and 80s ran through here. The Tubu worked their way through it. The landscape carries the record of it. From above, Emi Kusi's caldera is a ring of brown and gray rock. Its rim dusted with winter snow, the only snow in this part of the continent. The Sahara spreads to every horizon, unbroken. Altitude is the escape route when the flatlands turn lethal. Below Tibesti, the desert conceals something it should have killed 10 millennia ago. In all this desert, nothing is harder to find than water. It hides deep, it surfaces rarely, and everything alive leans toward the few places it breaks the surface. In the heart of the world's largest sand sea, Lake Sarir. This is Ubari Oasis. More than 20 lakes inside the sand sea of southwestern Libya, where dunes climb 500 feet. The Sand Sea measures about 80 miles across. The deepest lake reaches 33 feet. The water is real and very old. It is fossil water, sealed underground through the Pleistocene, between 20,000 and 38,000 years ago, rising under Artesian pressure. Some lakes turn 10 times as salty as the Dead Sea. Others are fresh. They glow turquoise, fed by an ancient aquifer, mirrored in dune walls that turn orange and red at dusk. The silence around them is absolute. The Garamantian civilization, which flourished from about 1000 BCE to 600 CE, solved the riddle of these buried reservoirs. They dug thousands of miles of hand-cut underground channels called fagaras, horizontal wells reaching the aquifer that feeds the Ubari lakes. The work was all by hand. The scope had no match in the ancient world. The lakes are shrinking. Oil drilling now taps that same aquifer. Aerial photos from the 1970s to today show the surface down 30 to 40%. Water laid down 20,000 years ago, saved by geological chance, is being drained in decades. If even water that survived 20,000 years is running dry, what creature would dare hold on out here? Red sandstone walls drop straight down 165 feet to a narrow floor. Water seeps from the rock face, the only sound of water for 200 miles. This is Guelta d'Arque, the one permanent pool of Chad's Entity Plateau, set deep in a high-sealed gorge. Down here, the air stays cool and close. Every day, hundreds, sometimes thousands of camels are led into the gorge to drink. They come down in long single-file trains, then crowd the water's edge. The Tubu work the herds. Men and boys drive the camels. From the rim above, the whole herd packs the canyon floor around the water. 10 Nile crocodiles cut off when the climate dried the rivers roughly 5 millennia ago. Trapped in this canyon with no way out. In 2011, DNA analysis confirmed them as a distinct lineage. They are smaller than their river relatives. They move less. They wait. Eating desert fish on near-starvation rations, they drop their metabolism close to nothing. The desert kept the ones that could wait. The Tubu have never hunted the crocodiles. They hold them sacred. The presence of a crocodile meant the water was real, the pool permanent. The belief caused the protection. The protection enabled survival. The Sahara trapped them. Then it forgot them in a canyon of black water and red sandstone. How can the lowest, deepest point of the whole desert be the best place to live? For 3,000 years, Siwa has kept a secret 62 feet below sea level. The Siwa Depression sits in the Libyan desert of western Egypt. Below sea level means Artesian pressure. The aquifer sits higher than the basin floor, so water seeps up without stopping. More than 200 springs, 200,000 date palms, olive groves, the largest farming oasis in the Sahara shaped by geography alone. The lowest point is the most livable. The whole town is built of kershef, a salt and mud mortar cut straight from nearby salt lakes. It keeps the rooms cool through the heat. Roofs and doors are palm wood. Above it all, the salt mud fortress of Shali leans over the streets, glowing gold at dusk. Part of it melted away in a rare rain. Around the oasis, turquoise salt lakes lie dense enough to float a body. About 25,000 Siwi live here, speaking their own Berber tongue. Life moves slowly, built around family and the date and olive harvests. The market lays out silver jewelry stamped with Berber symbols, woven baskets, and pottery. They share fresh dates dusted with coconut, olive oil from the groves, and mint tea in cool earthen rooms. Most Siwi are Muslim, leaning to the Shadhili Sufi order, and many pre-Islamic customs are still woven through daily life. Mosques with cone-shaped earthen minarets dot the oasis. Each year, the Sahara festival draws the community to Gebel Dakrauer to reconcile, share long meals, and chant. Weddings here run for days, full of music, song, and dance. In 331 BCE, Alexander crossed the Libyan desert to reach the oracle of Ammon and ask whether he was divine. The oracle said, yes, and he left to conquer Persia, never to return. The temple ruins rest at the edge of a salt lake, half-sunk, old stone resting in turquoise water. Wind moves through the palms. An insect chorus fills the air. Fermented dates throw a smell that mixes with mineral sulfur from the springs and fresh-cut grass. Patience rewards depth. The Sahara's lowest point is its most generous. The train still runs. The crocodiles are still in the pool. The tree stood for 3 centuries. The Sahara beat none of them. The Tuareg crossed it for 2,000 years on 26 feet of cloth and a cup of tea. The river dried up, but that line of crocodiles held on. A tree outlasted everything, but one Tuesday afternoon. The Sahara keeps what it cannot sustain. A record more lasting than the life it erases. Here, harshness and fragility cannot be pulled apart. The Sahara is not a dead waste of sand and not an enemy to be conquered. It is a living thing, a museum of time standing there to remind us how thin the line runs between life and death. Which story surprised you most? Is it Sioux, the crocodiles that never left their canyon pool, the tree that stood alone for 3 centuries, or something else? Tell us in the comments.